Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Newsbeat. My name is Kenneth. Jesse here. Our story is making headlines today. Economists reiterate calls for government to quicken pace of fiscal consolidation in the short to medium term to restore the country back from the current downgraded position. Special prosecutor recovers over 1 million Ghana cedis from Council of State members campaigning in import duties shortfall. One-month ban placed on noise-making in the La and Teshi townships of the Ghana State starts today, covering about 7 municipalities of the Greater Accra region. We'll bring you details of the areas that will be affected. And later, we'll take you to Chad, where that country's military group has rejected a deal with the government. We'll tell the details. Pleasure having you join us. Now, the Ghana Union of Traders Association has bemoaned the increasing spate of businesses collapsing in Ghana. According to the union, the result of the current exchange rate situation in the country has caused businesses to seriously bleed to death. Right, we're trying to get you that story. We don't have it at the moment. We'll try to get you that story as and when the video drops. You're still watching Newsbeat here on Metro Television. We're live on DSTV channel 277. We're also live on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana and on Twitter at Metro TV GH. Now, the city's continuous depreciation against the US dollar is gravely affecting businesses as it crosses the 9 Ghana city mark. My colleague Jeffrey Mauto Atipo has been finding out from traders at one of the major business hubs in the country at Abossey to tell us how the situation is affecting their businesses. He's joined me live. Jeffrey, welcome to the show. What more can you tell us?
Here in Accra, particularly the Abossey, to interact with those doing business over here and find out from them how the situation is affecting their business over here. So I have here with me some of the businessmen over here to interact with me. But first of all, to the dollar.
Inti sesino na chiko fane mo no ntimi nko because okoba obeboka na demand even embassies no kra expect a free importers ne ho no usika munye approve visa ma ho inti eno dey affect business pa.
We apologize for those poor visuals. Away from that, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has recovered more than 1 million Ghana cedis from La Bianca Company Limited, owned by a member of the Council of State, Eunice Jacqueline Bois Asomahine. The amount represents a shortfall in import duties the frozen foods company paid to the state. In an investigative report, the OSP accused Asomahine of influence peddling for allegedly using her position as a member of the Council of State and a member of the Board of Directors of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority to get a favorable decision from the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, which led to the reduction in the tax liabilities and La Bianca Company Limited. Influence peddling or trade of influence is a form of corruption in in which a person uses his or her position or political influence to gain unmerited favors. The OSP faulted a Deputy Commissioner of Customs in charge of operations, Joseph Eduche, for issuing what it described as unlawful customs advance rule, in which reduced the benchmark values on the frozen foods imported by La Bianca Limited, thereby reducing the company's tax obligations to the state. The investigative report, dated August 3rd, 2022, is titled Report of Investigation into Alleged Commission of Corruption and Corruption-Related Offences Involving La Bianca Group of Companies and the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Right, so we were joined earlier by an anti-graft campaigner, Edem Senanu, for a conversation on this particular subject. Take a listen.
Well, from the perspective of the special prosecutor, picking the existing law on taxes to be paid, and obviously on the criteria under which you then decide on a reduction, this was not a justified reduction that accrued to the company, and in that context, therefore, once it's not justified, it means that somebody breached the law, breached the policy, and therefore the amount that was forfeited to government ought to be retrieved. Well, yes. The thing is that what might happen, it will be that the officer who took the decision, because you see the processes were followed. So the officer who took the decision, if the person cannot justify it, they may then decide to take that to court. It depends on the weight of the evidence they believe they have. So if there's reasonable reason to think that it's a strong case that can be won in court, they'll go to court. Otherwise, they may just stick with their retrieval. No, I mean, the typical definition of corruption is the abuse of entrusted power for personal gain. There is an assumption that this was an abuse of power because the policy framework within which you have the capacity to say, I am downgrading this, you don't need to pay so much tax, was not what was followed. And so the question is, what was the interest? Is it the interest of the state? Is it the interest of an individual? So I think that the special prosecutor has reasonable grounds to suspect that there was a personal interest, and that's where the issue of influence peddling comes in. Well, I think that there's no doubt about the competency of the special prosecutor. The question is whether the facts and the ruling of the courts will go in their favor or otherwise if they went to court. So, and if I compare to the tenure of Mr. Martin Amidu, I think we've had much more being done under Mr. Kwesi Agyebeng to date than we had under Martin. And so we should give him some credit. The question really is about, at the end of the day, what the courts and the judge ruling will say if they took this to court. And I guess Mr. Agyebeng will weigh that before he even decides to go to court on this. Let's not also forget that for the large part of his tenure, the logistics and resources required to be effective have not actually been extended to him. So again, we have a flawed reference point from which we can assess this. If he receives all the resources, then he have many more men deployed to investigate and therefore to get the facts that are useful for him to go to court.
Now, the Deputy Executive Secretary of Postal and Courier Services, Laurato Musa Saka, says government is on its toes to bring the nation out of the junk status by the rating agencies. She added that the downgrades are not new, especially the country is just recovering from a pandemic. Hence, there is an acknowledgement that the country is in crisis. But a communications team member of the NDC, Beatrice Annan, says it is not enough to accept the country is in crisis. She added that government should shift away from PR gimmicks and tackle the economic situation head-on.
Of every information is important. What they are saying is not new. We know it. We know we are in difficult times. The conversation with a team from IMF also highlighted it. We find ourselves in a difficult situation because there's no way you can implement a budget without having your revenue streams. And for the 2022 budget, one of the main revenue streams was the e-levy, which was supposed to take effect from February 1st. We all saw what happened with e-levy. It was fought for 6 months, half a year.
The penchant for borrowing is because the Minister of State in charge of finance and the current finance minister are the greatest beneficiaries of the borrowing. So they will borrow so that if Fitch, S&P, Moody's say that the reason why we keep downgrading you is because of your debt and liquidity challenges, your inability to service this and even to meet these demands or your repayment obligation, you should understand. Because what is the government doing? Nothing. When the government had opportunity and access to our resources, whereas your predecessor, John Mahama, was on a mission of building hospitals, schools, road, airports, interchanges, they are building cathedral. They are building cathedral with their limited resources, coupled with frivolous, luxurious travels, bloated bureaucracy. The president told us that the work was big. He was in a hurry. And so he had to use 120 ministers. This is where we will be. This is exactly where the MPP intended us to be. And this is where we are. Where else? What were they thinking? But that's a magic and manner of...
Now, following the recent clashes at the University of Ghana campus, my colleague Shadrach Odami Ejare has been speaking to some of the students. Let's take a look.
It happened on Friday night. On Saturday morning, that was just yesterday, I couldn't tell that indeed something had even happened. Okay, so, well, I think you are going to be the first media house we've spoken to. But all we can say to the issue is that since I was not present at the scene and I got there late, I didn't see any Commonwealth person there to be able to speak to the issue, saying that there was a clash between Mensa Sabahol and Commonwealth, as per the release by the university management and others. As a PRO of the hall, I need to gather all the necessary information to be able to speak to the media, to be able to speak to the university about the whole situation. Per the information I gathered in the morning of Saturday, and looking at the atmosphere in the hall, nothing, you can't tell that residents of this hall went out to have any fight with anyone. You have a crop of people, I mean, just a section of the residents of Commonwealth Hall descend down there to even do such a thing. You can't relate that to the whole of Commonwealth. Earlier this morning, we saw some policemen trooping in. We saw some around the hall. Well, I must say that some students or some residents of our prestigious hall are not okay with that kind of action because it poses threats to some of them. And some of them cannot even go out. You know, there are some particular students who, by just seeing a security man, I mean, feels very, very uncomfortable. Okay. So, in as much as the university would want to bring the policemen or external forces on campus to, I mean, try correcting the wrongs, they should also think about the students in the university.
What I saw, stones were just flying, some were coming to the corridor and so on. That is actually what I can tell, and the statue, they picked it away, and the boys were actually here throughout the night from around this time, 8 thereabouts up to somewhere 1 in the night. Even it extended beyond 1 up to 2 a.m. So that's basically what I witnessed, and I can actually say. The police are still around, but it's not anything strange. It's very normal.
After some consultation with the executives of the Mensa Sabah, they have hinted that they've spoken or had a meeting with the Pro-Vice Chancellor of this institution and would not want to contradict themselves. Hence, they are not saying anything to the media. They would want to come back later after they have been able to reach a consensus and then explain issues. But this is the current situation on the ground, with police presence heavy here on the campus of the University of Ghana, especially in front of the Mensa Sabah, where the whole clash ensued. Shadrach Odame Ejari for Metro News, Legon.
Right, so I've been joined on phone by Theophilus Tete and Samson Tagbo, and also via Zoom, Jeffrey Kabute Okanse. Theophilus and Samson are former members of the Saba and Commonwealth Horse, respectively, while Jeffrey is also a fellow of the Africa Education Watch. Gentlemen, good to have you on the show this afternoon. Let me start with Theophilus. What experience can you share with us during your time as a Viking? Hello, Theophilus, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
Right, share with us some of your experiences.
Thank you very much, and a good afternoon to you and your viewers and the Metro TV studios. I think, for me, my experience has been very rewarding because the Mensa Sabah Hall offered an enabling environment not to only grow intellectually, but to grow as a person. And I believe that myself and each and every member of the Mensa Sabah Hall can attest to that fact that the Mensa Sabah Hall is a hall which is going to add to you so that when you are out there, you can contribute positively to our nation.
Right. Look, we all like healthy competitions, but it looks like the rivalry that happened recently was quite unhealthy. What can be done to change this?
Thank you very much. I think that, first of all, the recourse to violence has never been a disposition on our side as Mensa Sabah Hall residents. It is alien to us. But in terms of what can be done, I believe a conscious effort must be made to set forth an appropriate forum where both sides can express in detail our issues, then address them, then thereafter set guidelines and limitations to the conduct of our activities. Secondly, I believe that management must ensure that those found culpable are appropriately dealt with. Often, when incidents like this occur, management releases a communique, they condemn the act, they set up an investigative committee or a committee of inquiry, and that is about it. We do not hear the aftermath of it. And so I believe it will serve some good as deterrence for members or students not to engage in such acts in the future if these sanctions and punishments are publicized for students to see. That is even if those matters are even dealt with and concluded.
Right. Let me come to Jeffrey Okanse, if you are on the line. What has been your experience with the Vandals and also the Vikings? Well, I understand we do not have Jeffrey at the moment, but we have Samson. Samson, are you on the line? Hello, Samson. Can you kindly unmute so that our audience can hear you? Hello, Samson. Unfortunately, we've lost both of them on the line at the moment. We'll try and reconnect with them and get their reaction on that particular issue. This is still Newsbeat here on Metro Television. I understand we have Theophilus back on the line. Theophilus, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
Right. So what is your departing words?
Pardon?
What is your departing words? What do you have to tell the students as a former student of the University of Ghana and also as a former member of one of the halls that is feuding with the other? What is your final words?
My final words are to the residents of the Mrs. Abba Hall, the most populous hall on the University of Ghana campus, that it's in these times that we must foster unity and solidarity in order to come out strong.
Right.
What has happened is a great affront, and we are not happy about it, but we believe that through togetherness and through unity, we shall come out.
Right. Thank you very much, Theophilus, for speaking to us this afternoon. We'll be back after this break. You're welcome back. Let's to stay at the University of Ghana campus and speak to Samson Tagbo, who we were having challenges to connect with earlier. Samson, I believe you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can. You have me.
Right. There's been a series of violent clashes between rival groups on campuses, especially the University of Ghana. Some people have even said that these groups are not necessary and that they should be disbanded. What is your opinion on that? Do you agree with those saying that we should disband these groups?
Well, so thank you, and good afternoon to our viewers and listeners as such. I think that it is not in the happiness of any man to have a group of people who reserve some level of violence on the larger society. And so the question could never have warranted an answer that no, we need to keep such groups in our dealings. And of course, we all say that those groups, are
Unfortunately, we've lost Samson again. Now, following the clashes at the University of Ghana, security consultant Richard Kumado has called for enhanced security protocols on the university as one of the solutions to the student impasse. According to him, the feud between university halls is nothing new, but the energies can be redirected into healthy academic competitiveness.
There has to be a proper engagement during the orientations with student leadership, particularly at the highest level of the halls we are talking about, Casford, Unity, Katanga, and Commonwealth. And once those discussions are addressed properly and in line with student regulations and what policies governs good behavior and the ramifications for bad behavior, I think it will help the situation. Let the authorities descend. They should not wait until something like this happens. Then they begin to react. You remember there was one other one where the students were complaining and grumbling and they were agitating for how the halls have been badly managed and the total number of people they were packing into the halls. The university authorities went sleeping until Kofi Annan got to the premises. And I think one of the halls went naked as they usually would do, or they demonstrated by singing against Kofi Annan. Then the university authorities came and said, we are making Commonwealth Hall a mixed hall. That wouldn't solve the problem, and that wouldn't stop them from agitating for student unity and student leadership on campuses. We know it, and I'm saying that, yeah, these are grown-up guys. Let's engage them meaningfully, and let's also assure that particularly when they are demonstrating using anger to address misgivings on the part of authority, let us not come with a strong cutlass and cut off their heads, because, hey, those guys are the helm of affairs in national leadership, in every aspect.
Away from the University of Ghana campus, after calling off their strike, the LPG Tanker Drivers Association and its members have met up with the National Petroleum Authority to dialogue on the best ways for the onward distribution of liquefied petroleum products. Key among the issues being discussed presently is the tracking device, which the outfit has strongly kicked against. My colleague Elvis Andor is present at the event and has joined me for a live report. Elvis, what more can you tell us?
Okay, so Ken, just as you have said, the Drivers Association is meeting up with some authorities of the National Petroleum Authority to have a dialogue on how best they can resolve the issue about the tracking device on the various tankers that go out to do the various distribution of the oil. Now, what there is that there is no new tracking device as of now, but the drivers are being taken through the necessary understanding of how the device works. Key among the explanations that have been given so far is that the tracking device has been designed in such a way that if there is a little bit of shaking with the oil, it will record it and then also give a notification to the authority that someone is trying to tamper with the system. But the drivers have strongly kicked against that with the notion that it is not the best way to go. And so it should be looked at. And that has been also explained by the authority that it is not going to record every shakes because of the bumpy nature of our roads and the potholes that we see on the road. But when that happens, it sends a signal to the authority to actually follow up to know whether or not the tanker drivers or the tanker on site is in a good shape or in a good position. And so they are just following up to see whether or not there is an issue on the road or there is no issue. But the drivers think that it is to the authority, it is an attempt to maybe send signals that they are trying to tamper with the seals that have been attached to the various tanker drivers. So that has been well explained to them, and they have all understood the whole process. Currently, they are being taken through another stage of the meeting where they would now have the opportunity to see the actual modus operandi of the the tracking device. So that is what is currently ongoing at the moment, and we are hoping to have an interview with some of the drivers and also the NPA's PRO to see how best these issues and the concerns raised has been perfectly resolved, because if it is not well resolved, there is the likelihood of another strike being staged again.
So aside the tracking device, what else is being discussed at the meeting?
Okay, so aside the tracking device, their protection is also being discussed at the meeting as we speak, where some of them say they travel at night, and it's a bit of a worry to them looking at how crime rate has increased in the country. But however, they are being taken through some tips on security and the response that they can, the alternative response that they can alert the appropriate authorities responsible for their security on the roads, and that would also be done. So we are still following up, and then we will give viewers more on this meeting after.
Please do. Thank you very much for speaking to us this afternoon, Elvis Andor. Now, the La and Teshi traditional councils here in the Greater Accra region have placed a ban on drumming and noise making across their traditional areas in the capital Accra ahead of their annual Homowo festival. During the ban, the Ga people, indigenes of Ghana's capital, fast and pray to God and their deities. It is a period to reflect deeply on all their endeavors in the year, what went well, what didn't go as expected, and what can be done better to improve the lives of the people. In the wisdom, the Ga forebearers, silence is required for full concentration to get the task done for good. Now, let's now turn to our video wall to see which areas will be affected by the ban. So these are the municipalities that will be affected. La Dadikotopon is one of them, Lejokuku, Ayawasu East, Adenta, La Nkwantanan, Ga East, all these areas are going to be affected. We also have La Township, Teshi Township, Cantonments, Chado Trade Fair, Burma Camp, Laboni, Shiashi, Oyarefa, Madina, East Legon, Okbongolo, and so many other places. We also have Ayimensa, Frafraha, we have Damfa, we have Otinibi, we have Pantine, and other communities. Right, and the Electricity Company of Ghana is undertaking a planned maintenance in some parts of the Greater Accra region today, Monday, 8th August 2022. This was made known in a press notice. It further said the maintenance work is to allow the power distributor improve its service delivery. Areas to be affected include Madina, Red Zongo Flats, Madina Market, Tayman Town, Madina Four Stone, Tayman Burgess Town. The notice stated that the maintenance work is scheduled to take place from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Now, the Ghana Union of Traders Association has bemoaned the increasing spate of businesses collapsing in the country. According to the union, the result of the exchange rate situation in the country has caused businesses to seriously bleed to death.
According to the Ghana Union of Traders Association, businesses have reached a situation where its survival is seriously threatened if no immediate action is taken by the government to find solutions. The union in a statement called the attention of government to the fact that the depreciation of the cedi against other major trading currencies is getting out of hand, and the increase in the monetary policy rate is also leading to high lending rates in the country. GUTA is asking government to reconvene the Foreign Exchange Committee that was set up a few years ago by the Finance Ministry, which involved all relevant stakeholders to help find immediate solution. The statement, without GUTA President Dr. Joseph Obing's signature, painted the gloomy picture of the import business for locals as against how beneficial it is for foreign importers. This is explained as a result of the foreigners coming under the guise of manufacturing, but later divert to trading, taking advantage in the loopholes in the law. This, it's explained, is as a result of foreigners coming into the country under the guise of manufacturers, but later divert to trading, taking advantage of the loopholes in the law.
Let's go into the telephone lines and speak to Dr. Joseph Obing. He's the president of GUTA. Doc, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us today. Have you heard from government since you've called on government to intervene in the dire situation you're currently facing?
Yeah, before we come out like this, we would have exhausted some of these things. And so we've given our input to our sector minister and somewhere else. But now the way things are going, if we do not also tell our story to the world, probably people might not understand what is going on. And that's why we came out with this press release, for people to know our plight. Right. And it's not interesting at all what is going on, because if care is not taken, speculation is going to set in, and then fear and panic will also set in, and then people will trade in the dollar as a way of security. And then when that time happens, then it becomes difficult even for government to control. Right. And that's why we are drawing the government's attention that we cannot take it any longer, because this thing has been going on since December. Right. Normally it's been perennial. We accept that perennial, by this particular year, it has been so sustained. And that now the dollar have been increasing and the cedi have been depreciating, right, to the extent that our capital have dwindled, have depleted of about 30% as I'm speaking. If care is not taken, right, once we are going for the Christmas purchases and all that, the dollar, the situation would have aggravated. Right. And then maybe probably by November we'll hit 10. Means that we'll go and find 1 million Ghana cedis to go and buy only $100,000. Right.
Doc, let's go to the ground to see how dire the situation is. A month ago, if you imported, let's say, a Hyundai saloon car or a Toyota Vitz, how much were you paying for an import duty last month, and how much are you likely to pay for an import duty this month?
Yeah, you know, we benchmark the duty with dollar, where the duty payment is not pegged with the cedi. So in that case, as long as the HM rate is going up, the duty rate keep going up. So I cannot put a specific figure because it means that every day duty rates are changing at the port. Right. And so that's what is happening. And how long can we take it? Because then it does not also make us be able to forecast and plan our businesses. And then especially when the capital itself is being depleted, that's the problem. Right. Because then if we're able to change December 640,000 Ghana cedis for $100,000, now you have to go and find 910,000 Ghana cedis to change the same 100,000. If you do not get the top up, then you have to contend yourself with about $70,000. Wow. You haven't done anything, and your money have been dwindled or spirited away by about 30%. This is how serious it is. Right. And it is not that easy that we say that why don't you pass the cost on to the final consumer? No, the final consumer by now is also very overstretched by the effect of the inflation. We are in inflation of about 30%. Interest rate has also gone up. So all indicators that make business environment very good for all of us, not only for traders, for manufacturers, for agri workers, and transportation, and all that. Right. Every segment
Doc, briefly,
is now
before I let you go. So if the current trend continues, we are likely to hit 12 Ghana cedis for $1 by the end of the year. What happens if government does not listen to your plea?
No, it means that all the efforts that we've done in the past to sustain our economy will be in vain. It means that the whole country, this time I'm not talking for the traders. Right. It means that it's going to be even difficult for government itself to sustain itself in so many areas. It means that we are not going to be competitive, right, even in the wake of the continental free trade areas. It's as simple as that. It means that our industrialization drive has been short-lived. Okay. So our very livelihood as an economy depends on how stable our currency is. Right. And that's why we've taken our time to dissect and bring some of the issues.
Doc, I'm afraid we'll have to end the conversation here. Thank you very much for speaking to us this afternoon. Dr. Joseph Obeng is the president of GUTA. It's now time for business, and Winston Taki is standing by with the latest.
It's time for business here on Newsbeat. We'll be right back after this. And now to a false business story. The Center of Petroleum Consumers has projected an upward increase in fuel prices of 3% at the pumps due to the rising depreciation of the Ghana cedi against the dollar.
Prices of petroleum products went up between 3% and 6% from August 1st, 2022. According to the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, the reduction would have been bigger if not for the depreciation of the cedi against the US dollar. The drop in fuel prices was the second consecutive time since oil prices started falling on the world market. Unfortunately, local consumers will not see any reduction in the second pricing window in August as the cedi continues to fall against the dollar, currently selling at around 9 cedis to a dollar. In an interview with Metro News, the head of research at the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers projects a surge in
the petroleum consumer locally may not see a decline, but rather may see a surge of about 3% of export price is because of one factor. As a country led by the Bank of Ghana through its monetary policy measures and led by the Minister of Finance through its fiscal policy measures, these two entities have not been able to manage our cedi well. And for that matter, if prices increase in the second window of August, beginning 16th, it is not because of any Russia-Ukraine conflict. It is not because of any China-Taiwan conflict. It is not because of any Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict, but it is because of our inability locally, our inefficiency, our managerial practices that led to the inefficient management of our cedi. And that is what is going to cost the petroleum consumer beginning 16th August.
According to COPEC, the increment will lead to full poverty.
Borrowing from the banks will be around 29%. So if the banks are borrowing to us, or the cost of loans is becoming increasing, cost of fuel is also becoming increasing, it means that it is going to lead to increments in unemployment, it's going to lead to shortfall in government revenue because corporate tax will decline, because companies will publish lower profit turnouts. Now, on households to what we call fuel poverty, we are going to experience it because when prices of fuel increase, it reduces savings, household savings, it reduces household investment, and it even reduces households' consumption of other commodities.
The price of crude oil continues to fall as the commodity, which peaked at more than $130 barrel in March 2022, has given up all the gains triggered by Russia's war on Ukraine, falling to nearly $90 a barrel.
Now, a report by Standard Bank forecasts Ghana's growth rate to drop by 3.1% this year from the earlier projected 6.2%.
Standard Bank has slashed Ghana's growth rate to 3.1% this year. It has also lowered its 2023 gross domestic product forecast for the country's 4.1% from the earlier 6.8%. The government, in the 2022 mid-year budget review, cut down the growth rate of this year to 3.7% from the earlier projection of 5.8%. But according to Standard Bank, the country's growth now faces a confluence of downside risk in 2022 and 2023. Standard Bank suspects that the government is running out of external financing options. Therefore, public investment in infrastructure is unlikely to underpin growth over the coming year. The Ghana cedi's plummet since January 2022 has further bumped up inflation, which will soften private household consumption over the coming year. Therefore, the Bank of Ghana Monetary Policy Committee may have to further raise the key benchmark rate to stem up rising inflation expectation, as well as support the Ghana cedi, which is likely to reduce private investment over the coming year. It also pointed out that GDP growth also faces rising domestic fuel prices, with fuel subsidies to offer any support, but they hope that the gold sector may offer some upside to their outlook. The Standard Bank now expects the account deficit to widen to 4.1% of GDP in 2022, then narrow to 2.6% in 2023. Financing a wider account deficit in 2022 would prove near impossible due to the lack of external funding.
That'll be all for business here on Newsbeat. My name is Winston Taki. We'll be back with sports after this break. Stay tuned.
It's 49 past midday in the Ghanaian capital, Accra. My name is Phil John Quarton. It's time for your sports. Ghana's Joseph Amua, who won bronze at the 2022 200 meters, has expressed joy, saying that he will build up on it.
I mean, yeah, it was a lot to deal with, but I have a great team around me. You know, they talk to me. They you know, gave me more like motivation to come out here and concentrate on this and not worry about what happened earlier in the day. It was very disappointing, but I just wanted to, you know, stay mentally tough and not deal with all that pressure. I know I drew a very good lane, and being in lane 5 means you could feel those coming from 1 to 4, and you could actually see from 6 to 9. And I wanted to use that to my advantage. The fans are also, you know, very loud, and I was trying to use that as a boost for myself when I got into the straightaway. So I'll say it was a very, with all the pressure that was there, I just wanted to execute and stay in my lane, focus on the line, and try to reach for it. Yeah.
That's your sports. My name is Phil John Quarty. Hetty is standing by for the latest in showbiz.
Thank you, Johnny. It's now time for entertainment news. A Ghanaian reggae and dancehall musician Episode is set to release a folk rendition of his hit song Atia. This follows the successful release of the High Life rendition, which featured High Life musician Kwabena Kwabena. The folk rendition is set to be released later this week and features renowned Ghanaian traditional musician Dela Botri and singer Abiana. This rendition is exclusive to Metro TV. Here are excerpts. Now, away from that, entertainment journalist Saliman believes Ghanaian artists like playing it safe when it comes to spending and investing in their craft. According to her, the Ghanaian systems and structures do not help as well.
We always want to play safe. That has been our biggest challenge in this industry. These Nigerians, the guts they have, it's amazing. They can even put down money and then decide that they are going to be in the States for 2 months and do all the necessary interviews just to catch the attention of the people there. That's something that we don't do because a Sarkodie will be thinking about, oh, if I spend all this money, what if the money doesn't come back again? You know, we are safe. Nigerians are not safe. Yeah. They will spend every dollar that they have to put in that work so that he or she will look expensive for you to come for them. So I think it has been long overdue. We should have tested this water long time ago, but we were safe. I mean, all our artists, they're always playing it safe because our structures and our system and structures are not helping matters.
Well, that's it for entertainment news on Newsbeat. My name is Harriet Adiken.
Thank you very much, Harriet. Let's now bring you news from around the world. Let's have a look at the international news for today.
The Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara has pardoned his predecessor, Laurent Gbagbo, who was facing a 20-year jail sentence for political unrest. Ouattara has also asked for Gbagbo's bank account to be unfrozen and for his life annuity to be paid. Gbagbo became president of the Ivory Coast in 2000, but was arrested in 2011 after refusing to concede defeat in the election. Chad's military government has signed a peace deal with more than 40 opposition groups to launch a national reconciliation dialogue, but the Central African country's main rebel group refused to take part. Under the accord signed in the Qatari capital Doha, the talk is aimed at paving the way for a presidential election to start on August 20. A ceasefire between Israel and Palestinian militants in the Gaza Strip appears to be holding. The Egypt-brokered truce followed 3 days of violence with Israel targeting the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and militants firing rockets into Israel. At least 44 Palestinians died in the most serious flare-up since an 11-day conflict in May 2021. China's military says it is continuing large-scale military drills around Taiwan after it previously announced live fire exercises ended on Sunday. The Chinese Army's Eastern Theater Command said that it would practice anti-submarine attacks and sea raids. The earlier 4 days of exercises were Beijing's response to U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island.
My name is Kenneth Jesse. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.